morning, Gene.
Good morning, James.
Always good to see you.
Likewise.
Today, we wanted to talk about how role definitions are often redefined within large product development organizations, both, for example, the product owner role, especially the Scrum Master role as of late, and how that ties into other aspects of the organization. And I know, Gene, you had some pretty strong thoughts on this, so I wanted to let you go first here.
Sure. Thanks, James. So needless to say, the industry is moving along, and we learn a lot as we go. We do have this trend, and it has been a trend for a while, but for some reason we see amplification of this trend, of trending over the last few months, I would think. Without naming any particular names, I think the industry is pretty transparent on this. Some of the very well-established roles that have been well-defined for adaptive, aka agile product development, have been impacted. Historically, we've seen some of these roles being relabeled from what they were meant to do and to be initially into something that is sort of watered down, less specific, less definitive. For example, taking the role of a Scrum Master that is very well defined for Scrum and large-scale Scrum, with very well-defined responsibilities and activities and seasoning and qualifications. Some organizations just water it down and dilute it and turn it into something like an Agile manager or Agile team lead or Agile delivery lead. What does it really mean to me is that there is very little appreciation, or at least not enough appreciation and understanding that's given to the actual framework that this role entails, such as Scrum. So if someone dilutes or trivializes the role of a Scrum Master or a product owner for that matter, needless to say, then this company probably does not have enough recognition for Scrum, and somehow by trivializing the role, they sort of softly step away from the idea of, hey, we will be experimenting with Scrum. So it's really not Scrum anymore, and the role of a Scrum Master is no longer a Scrum Master for various reasons. And quite frankly, I'm not going to list all of those reasons, but they vary from social to strategic to economic. To me, not a justifiable change. To me, it also means that there is a lack of understanding of the real purpose of the framework itself, such as Scrum or large-scale Scrum. Also, there is also an indicator that we still are a subject to traditional funding and budgeting with, sponsoring portfolios, programs, projects, not products, where Scrum really would come into play to support product development. Clearly, to me, there is a lack of understanding of the role and reluctancy to add it to HR database. So HR notes and policies, career support, support of a career path, compensation and promotion that is associated with this well-defined role is absent or is weak, or a company is on the fence whether or not they should be given support. So they try to water it down. And of course, clear misunderstanding between job security and role security, to me, is indicated by this trend. Lastly, I will say this. Because of the watering down the roles that are very well defined, it becomes easier for companies to essentially en masse draft old roles, old people into these new redefined, internally defined roles that really no longer have a clear definition. So you have cohorts, you have armies of X underscore role. Now Agile role, Agile, you used to be a manager, now Agile manager, used to be a BA, now Agile BA, used to be a delivery lead, now Agile delivery lead. Now applied, and now you have this huge pool of individuals that played a role. As time goes by and a company realizes, an organization realizes, hey, look, we're really not getting the bang for the buck. We just relabeled everyone under the sun into these new roles. A few years went by. There was really no justifiable gain from this for us as an organization. So in the name of goodwill, we will do something to these redefined roles. We will reduce them in number. Departments, agile centers of excellence get reduced or eliminated. And of course, it impacts people with jobs. So first we start with misunderstanding and exhibiting a lack of recognition for the role and what it really means to do, that we water it down into something else, and this something else now gets jeopardized. That's just my overarching understand. This is my view on the situation, the trend in the market. How about yourself?
So I agree, Gene, as that's almost always. When we were discussing this earlier, the writings of Hackman in leading teams came to mind, and he puts forward this meta framework that you need a supportive organizational context, you need enabling structure, compelling direction, and a real team, and then also expert coaching. And that's not necessarily agile coaching, that's just more general. And I think we have these organizations where they never had an enabling structure in the first place. And you didn't really have real teams in the first place. You had people that were acting individually as product developers typically, that were basically just given a job to go do that one thing. They never really worked as a team. They were just kind of a loose group of people. And then you step back and you say, well, why are we not getting much benefit? Well, because you never had the right structure and real enabling teams in the first place. You just had a lot of lip service to that. Another facet that I think comes to play is, a Scrum Master role is intended as a very senior role with managerial level of emotional intelligence and ideally some technical competency as well. And, in a LeSS structure, for example, managers are completely optional. The only reason you wouldn't have anyone reporting into the Scrum Master is that kind of changes the dynamic and causes problems in that way. But so you have structure that is not conducive to real teams in the first place. You have people that are in these roles that are doing what they've been asked, and they're doing the best to the best of their ability. Yet they've never been empowered to really do the role that as it's actually defined. And in many cases, they're a bit junior to be asked to be doing what they're doing, but it's not their fault. If you don't like the outcome of the system, don't blame the people in the system. Blame the people who created the system in the first place. Blame the people who set up this organizational structure. That's where the problem is. It's always in the senior management layers. They're accountable for the organizational design, which has, as you and I know, cultural influences culture far more than the reverse. Any more thoughts?
Yeah, so it's a good point you made about Hackman's thinking. Hackman's model on this very, very applicable. Would like to just to dwell a little bit more on the relabeling process itself, and it's probably not uncommon. It's humanly understandable that we tend as humans to rename, relabel things that we don't understand well to things that we do understand well. So when I see an organization taking a role of a Scrum Master that is very well defined in Scrum and large-scale Scrum, and like you said very accurately, I think I strongly agree, it's a seasoned role. It's a role of a seasoned person with high degree of intellectual integrity, a coach, an enabler. So when they take this role and trivialize and water it down, they look for a good substitution for it. So what's the best substitution for the role of a Scrum Master? Well, let's dig through the Rolodex of existing traditional HR roles. Of course, there's got to be a word of delivery concatenated to the role, whatever that role is that they substitute. Why? Because especially if your organization is driven by incentives and bonuses, compensation includes incentives and bonuses, then you are expected to deliver. And as we know, companies struggle a lot defining for themselves, what is it that a Scrum Master delivers? Or what is it that a coach delivers? Those soft deliverables, they don't fly well with us. It's not something we can tangibly touch and feel and put our dollar on. And therefore, let's substitute with the word delivery. Now, shortly thereafter, they realized delivering a bunch of metrics or delivering a PowerPoint deck with a bunch of reports on behalf of teams is pretty weak delivery. It's almost like useless delivery. And then, of course, what comes to mind of those organizational leaders that are behind this, well, maybe that's no longer of a role that we need. So anyway, that's just my additional thinking on this.
And I was thinking when you were talking about performance and bonuses and whatnot, so many companies bonus on individual performance and have, these forced ranking systems that do all of this. And, that just tears teams apart. And then you wonder, why do people act why do they act for their own personal self-interest, which is not necessarily in the best, aligned with the best interest of the product, the best interest of the company? Well, because that's how you're paying them, and you wonder why they have the responses they do. So,
yeah, exactly. So you see, and of course, when we see those roles being reduced, for the lack of a better word, it's just another way of saying, well, we're not paying you for whatever you were expected to do. Yes. So you're really not delivering. You're not delivering code. You're not delivering economic calculation sheet. You're not delivering a business proposal. So what you deliver is it's not something that we value, and probably rightfully so. So the systemic root cause is probably not at the tail end of this.
No, it's never, it almost never is.
Right. It's not like we have to fix the problem of reducing the roles that do not make sense. We probably should be going upstream, using blind system thinking and maybe doing system modeling and understanding what was the root cause to have this problem in the first place. Well, probably you should have protected. You should have understood. You should have protected, respected, and elevated and empowered the role as it was meant to be in the first place. Then this wouldn't happen. So fixing the problem, systemic problem upstream, would reduce the problem downstream.
Yeah, don't blame the people in the system, right?
Exactly.
All right, so
treating the symptom. So, yeah.
Thanks for listening, guys. This will be available on both Gene and I's LinkedIn post, as well as on our respective YouTube channels, which sometimes is a better way to watch this in landscape if you're watching on a phone, as well as on podcasts on the Agile Carpentry podcast, which if via Spotify will give you the video version. Otherwise, you only get the audio. And thank you again for your time. And please feel free to comment with additional ideas for us to discuss.